special way, with great fervor and trust in the Lord. It's right now. We pray for our country, which is in its own particular mess. Very tragic that on top of the coronavirus, which was certainly bad enough, and still is with us, and spreading in some places too, in our country and elsewhere. The fact is we have all this craziness of protests and people who want to remake and redo our country. Foolishness, craziness, that's what I call it. People who don't even have common sense. People who do not know really what makes something authentically good or intrinsically evil. And so Paul's in the letter of James, which we heard from yesterday, James's letter, his epistle, is very concrete and down to earth. And here he's talking about where do wars and conflicts among you come from? Is it not from the passions that make war within your members? In other words, if peace and harmony are going to reign in the community, in the city, in the states, in the whole country and in the world, it means that peace must first of all be reigning in the hearts of all the citizenry. You know, we just don't pray for peace without doing something to promote it. Besides our prayers for peace, to the King of Peace, Jesus Christ, we need to promote peace instead of bickering and quarreling, and instead of trying to get the first place, as the gospel is talking about, trying to be the greatest, trying to reach the top of the corporate ladder, so to speak, no matter upon whomever you have to step. This is the way of the world. It's not the way of Jesus. Jesus, who deserved to have a beautiful palace to be born in, chose a stable. Jesus, who should have reigned gloriously, first had to endure the agony of Calvary. He's our Lord. The problem is that so many people really don't believe in Jesus. That's the problem. At least one of them. Not everybody by any means are Christians. And even some Christians like to pick and choose what they want to believe in instead of taking the whole gospel. Catholics taking all the teachings of the church and believing in them. We can't be what some call cafeteria Catholics, picking and choosing what we like, what we feel like, what we want, even if we know it's not the best thing. And so we better pray very hard and daily for peace in our own country, so that the protests which are being prolonged and very much politicized as we move toward a presidential election will not be so disruptive that people will not even know what they're voting for or who, because they don't know the truth and the reality of things. So I chose this Mass for our country or city from the special lectionary, which has nothing but all votive masses for every kind of occasion. And God resists the proud, says James, but he gives grace to the humble. So submit yourself to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And brothers and sisters, that's what we need to do. But probably more than half of the world doesn't even believe in the devil, doesn't even believe in God. And those who claim to don't really know what God is truly about. They haven't taken the gospel message to heart. And so we need to pray hard that they, especially the violence that has come forth from these protests, and yes, I will say, all lives matter. If I said it in the wrong context, I'd probably be ostracized. We don't have to divide people by the color of their skin or race or ancestry. We are all God's people. But that does not seem to permeate the thinking of many, many of our citizens. To say nothing about the rest of the world. There always seems to be that struggle. I can remember in the 1940s, I was pretty small then and pretty young. But I think it was maybe 1948. That might not be the right year, but around that time, we had our first terrible race riot in the city of Detroit. Remember that. And then in 1968, we had another race riot. By then I was a seminarian and I was living in the summertime at St. Anthony's Church, which our precious forefathers used to serve. And we could hear the guns going off, from our living room. We could hear the guns going off. We could look out the window and see the tanks moving down the streets. But we don't need this terrific, horrific violence. Peace of heart. A heart at peace with itself. Peace of mind. A mind at peace with itself. I think everybody wants to be peaceful at heart. But sometimes people are their own worst enemies. They do the very things to upset them and to keep the upset going, and so they never arrive at peace. And for the various choices of readings that I had today, I chose the one gospel from St. Luke, who here we have the apostles. Those 12 men chosen by Jesus himself, and they're arguing who should be regarded as the greatest. The greatest. And so St. Luke is saying, having Jesus say in his gospel here, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, but that's not the way it should be for you. For who is greater? Is it not the one seated at the table? And then Jesus says, I am among you as the one who serves. We're all called to be servant leaders of God's people. And the service that we can render is the good example of our lives to others. So when people are trying to be disruptive, we should try to be peaceful. And that's what St. Luke is saying here. And Jesus said, it is you who have stood by me in my trials. Remember, he's talking to the apostles. And I confer a kingdom on you. And that's not only true for the 12 apostles, it's true for